Hi, my name's Ron Keuchel. I work for the U.S. Forest Service on the Mount Hood National Forest here in the state of Oregon. And today we're going to talk about one of the most fierce predators in the forest. And before we get started, I want to introduce a friend of mine who's going to help me with this talk. His name's Jack, and he's a great horned owl. He's what's called an education bird. He lives at the Rowena Wildlife Clinic near Mosier, Oregon. Unfortunately, he's had a bad experience with humans. He was hit by a car, so he's blind in one eye. He can no longer go out into the wild and survive. So Jack has been taken care of by Dr. Jean Cipher. She runs the clinic. He's a great horned owl. He's about 14 years old, and I'm going to go through all the different attributes that makes this animal such a great alpha predator. Okay, as we look at Jack here, we can see some really outstanding features. One of the most prominent are these here. Those are called tufts, and they're actually just feathers. The Latin name is plumicorn. Plumo meaning feather, and corno meaning horn. And actually what they're used for is, some scientists believe they're used for breaking up his pattern. And we call that camouflage. Along with all his other dark feathers, he can hide very well in a tree or any other environment that he's adapted to. As we look at his face, you can see he's got these what's called facial disc. Okay, and those help him hear. It's like, and he can modify those, and it's like holding your hands to your ears, and it amplifies the sound. So Jack has exceptional hearing. If there was a mouse running through about a foot of snow, Jack would be able to hear through that and grab his prey. Okay. The other wonderful thing about his face is you notice his eyes. His eyes are huge. As a matter of fact, they're about the size of a human being. But being as that they're so large, they're fixed into place, so he can't move them. If we had eyes in comparison, they would be about this big, okay? But I wouldn't be able to move them side to side. So to compensate, Jack's able to turn his head a good 270 degrees. And that's very good. We can't do that. But Jack, he has 14 vertebrae in his neck as opposed to our 7. So that helps him compensate for not being able to move his eyes back and forth. His eyes also work great at night, and he can also hunt during the day. He has 3 eyelids, one upper, one lower, and one called the nictitating membrane, which sweeps across his eye to help keep it clean and protect it from debris. All right, so as we move down, you can see he's got a really sharp bill. He's covered from head to toe with feathers, and they're really, really soft. And this helps him do one of the greatest things owls do, fly silently. Okay, and the reason they can do that is they have these big broad wings, and they have special comb along the edges. And if you listen carefully, you can hear the difference. This is off of a red-tailed hawk. Now, this is the great horned owl. There's a big difference. And when they swoop down, they don't do a lot of flapping. So it really works well. This he's called a sit and wait predator, so he would be up in his perch and he'd dive quietly down at his prey. Now as we move down his body, we can see what's called talons. Okay, these talons can be rotated. They're called zygodactyl. So he can swivel one around to where he has two up front, two in the back, and a large owl can have like an 8-inch circular spread of his claw. So the middle claw has a super sharp edge, which, along with the upper mandible of his beak, he can rip and tear. And the other unique thing about his talons is pressure. I have what's called a dynamometer, and this will tell you how much pressure a human can put out. Pull really hard and get 99 pounds. But that's just really, really trying hard. Jack, on the other hand, his talon pressure is anywhere from 200 to 500 pounds, the equivalent of a German Shepherd dog. So when he clamps down, it's really, really serious pressure. Okay, and it takes about 30 pounds to pull that claw off. They're the strongest with the exception of the golden eagle, which can put out 700 pounds of talon pressure. So we discussed Jack's attributes: his extremely good eyesight, his extraordinary hearing, his ability to grab and tear things up, as well as his excellent camouflage and his silent flight. Now you can see Jack's kind of puffing in and out. Well, he's trying to keep cool. It's a little warm in here, so when they're warm or nervous, they have to expel their body heat, and we call that the gular flutter. Okay, so Jack's basically cooling off. Now, great horned owls, this bird has a very wide range of existence, all the way from the subarctic down to South and Central America, which leads us to what they eat. Okay, so Jack, since they can be found in all those areas, the diet's going to be diverse. They've recorded over 250 different species of animals that owls will eat. Jack and even larger birds than him, larger great horned owls, can eat things like their specialty is mice, voles, rats, small rodents, rabbits, but they can also eat, take down porcupines, great blue herons, Canada geese. They'll walk into water to grab crayfish, they'll eat snakes, lizards, and on, even been known to take out armadillos. They also like skunks. Okay, you're saying, wow, skunks. That's one thing Jack doesn't have, is a sense of smell, or a very good one at that, so he can take down skunks. They have a very, very diverse diet, but they like to swallow their food whole if they can. If they can't, like I said, they're going to tear it into pieces. And they can actually store their food. And in the wintertime, if their food stores are frozen, they'll actually sit on it to incubate it. Okay, not a good idea for you as a youngster to go home and try to sit on any frozen food that's in the fridge. Parents won't appreciate that very much. If they swallow mice and rats, they can't really digest the bones, the fur, or feathers of birds that they eat. So what they'll do after about 10 hours is cough up a pellet, which is about 2 inches in length. And scientists like to go through those and pick out the bones and see what the owl has actually been eating, to see if it's got a varied diet or just one of certain animals. Jack here, he's about 14 years old. In the wild, owls generally live 10 to 12 years, but in captivity, they've been known to live up to 28 years, which is a long time. But in captivity, they don't have to compete with anything for food, and they're well taken care of. Jack has his own flight area to go to, so he does rather well, and he'll probably be around for a long time. Jack is a male great horned owl. If a female was sitting next to him, she would be about this tall. They can have a wingspan up to 5 feet. Along with the large wide wingspan, they can also carry their own weight and food. So if you have a 2-pound owl, they can actually carry off something that's about 2 pounds in weight. It's called wing loading, and they've got the highest wing loading of any raptor in the United States. Owl's breeding season is going to be January and February, and the pair will lay 2 to 4 eggs about this size, with 2 to 3 being the norm, 6 being a lot. It depends on food supply, basically. They're going to nest, but they do not build their own nest. They move into other nests like of hawks and things like that. So they're not great nest builders. The female is the one that's going to sit on the eggs. Both male and female provide food for their young. The eggs will hatch after about 6 weeks. The young will start to fly 9 to 10 weeks after birth. So, and then they will span out on their own to find territories. Okay, great horned owls in the wild are essential predators. They help keep other animals in check. So that makes them very important to keep the balance in the wild. The male and female will defend their nest really, really well. So if you come across a nesting pair, please stay the distance from them. Try not to disturb them. So we've talked about all of Jack's attributes and what makes him such a remarkable predator. So when you're out in the woods enjoying the public lands, please keep in mind it's a home for all these wonderful creatures like Jack and many others. On behalf of the Rowena Wildlife Clinic and the U.S. Forest Service, we'd like you to tread lightly and leave no trace. And thank you for watching.
Hello and welcome to Shenandoah National Park. I am intern Cassandra Reed, and today we are going to talk about the 3 different owl species you can find here in the park. Those would be the barred owl, the great horned owl, and the eastern screech owl. Now, through history, owls have been known as different symbols and omens, even through the different cultures. Now, for instance, in China, owls were known as godlike figures. The Romans believed owls were these evil creatures that brought the prophecy of death. And in some Native American cultures, owls were the prophecy of death, but also travel of the souls to the hereafter. The Greeks believed owls were associated with their virgin goddess of wisdom and strategy, Athena. But here in Shenandoah National Park, the owls are these wild nocturnal animals of the night with great hunting abilities and part of our important ecosystem here. Our owls are not migratory. They actually stay in the park year-round, and they have a steady hunting supply of prey year-round as well. Most of the animals that they hunt are active all the way through winter. Also, our owls are found at different elevations in the park. Barred owls are usually found above 2,500 feet elevation, while great horned owls and eastern screech owls are found below 2,500 feet elevation. Now, with eastern screech owls, they are small owls in size, and because the great horned owls are such large birds in size, the great horned owls will actually hunt the eastern screech owls. And though they live at the same elevation, they usually stay as far apart as they can from each other in order to protect and survive. The meadow provides an amazing habitat for the owls to hunt in. There's prey year-round in the meadow, as in rodents and mice, small animals, insects, shrews, voles, anything that the owls can hunt in the meadow is here and provided. The meadow is also a great habitat because it's a nice open area for the owls to be able to fly down and grab their prey without having to run into anything or maneuver around some trees. Now let's go learn a little bit more about the owls and their unique adaptations here in the park. Owls are nocturnal birds, which means that they like to roost during the day and sleep at night. However, sometimes you can see an owl during the day if it's cloudy out or even late in the evening or early in the mornings. Owls are carnivorous birds, but they're also raptors, just like hawks and other birds in the park. Raptors are carnivorous birds with sharp talons, strong beaks, and great flight abilities. The prey that are available here in Shenandoah National Park are mice, voles, shrews, frogs, snakes, and small animals, as well as insects. However, owls cannot digest fur, bones, and feathers, which means they regurgitate them into owl pellets that can be found on the ground and around owls' nesting areas or roosting areas. Now, I have a few props here today that I'm going to use to show what adaptations owls have that are unique to them. The adaptations are bodily or physical features that owls and other animals have that help them survive in their environment. This is our owl skull. Now, owls have these disc-like feathers around each eye that help funnel noise to their ears. Their ears are asymmetrical, meaning one is higher and one is lower, and can be found on the sides of their head. Now, owls are really unique because they have these sharp beaks, just like raptors, but they also have eyes that are stuck in the inside of their sockets, meaning they can't move their eyes back and forth. However, they have a wider field of vision than humans do, and they also have binocular vision just like humans, meaning that they can have both eyes focus on the same object at one time. Now, owls are also unique because their head can turn 270 degrees around, which is almost 3/4 of a circle. This helps them see their surroundings more fully, and also is great for hunting because they don't have to use much of their body to move around with. Now, just like other raptors, owls have these very sharp curved talons. However, owls have a reversible toe on the outer side, meaning that their toe can either face forward or backward. Most raptors have 3 toes that can face forward and 1 facing backwards. Owls can have 2 facing forward, 2 facing backward, or 3 facing forward and 1 facing backwards. This helps them grab onto prey easier and carry them away, as well as find a good perch on a branch and not be able to fall, especially during the day when they're roosting. Have you ever heard an owl fly? You probably haven't, because owls have silent flight. They're almost like ghost birds because you can't hear them coming whatsoever. Even the prey can't hear them coming, and it's great for them when they're hunting. The reason they have silent flight is because at the edge of these feathers, there's like these comb-like fringe on the outer edge of their flight feathers. Now, when they fly, that comb-like fringe helps keep their silent flight and allows the owls to hunt even more quietly and funnel noise easier to their ears. If they were flapping around and had all that noise, they couldn't hear as well and wouldn't be able to find their prey even when it was hidden. Another cool thing is that owls have this colors on their wings, their back, and their chest, and it helps with camouflage in the forest. So when you are out in the forest, it helps protect against predators and prey, and especially when hunting, prey can't see them as easily. Now we are going to go talk about the 3 different owls that we have here in the park. Again, that is the barred owl, the great horned owl, and the eastern screech owl. So follow me and let's go learn about them. The 3 different owls that are found here in Shenandoah National Park are very unique and similar, but they also have their own qualities about them that put them apart from each other. The barred owl is this mottled brown, almost white color that has bars of brown on its chest, its underside, and its wings, which is where it gets its name, barred owl. It eats many of the prey here in the park, but it prefers the more smaller ones like voles, shrew, mice, frogs, and insects. However, it can go after small birds and other small animals in the area. Now, barred owls, they prefer older, denser forests because they like those big decayed trees. They rather stay in a hole in the tree than using a stick nest. Barred owls are not as protective over their young or their territory as what a great horned owl or an eastern screech owl is. They're actually a little bit more mellow. Now, barred owls, they do mate for life, and they usually have about 2 to 4 eggs per season. Mating usually takes around in February, and then breeding is usually between March to early August. They have the longest parental care of their young than any other owl in the entire world. So barred owls, that means that they're going to look after their young and provide for them much longer before they let them off into the world. Now, their hoot is really unique. Barred owls have this hoot that sounds kind of like they're talking to you. So if you're in the forest and you hear it and you think that someone's around you and you're by yourself, don't be scared. It might just be a barred owl. It sounds almost like, who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all? It's a very unique hoot. And they also have another one that's a little bit more talkative, and it sounds like 2 owls talking back and forth to each other, which usually it is. Hoots are used to communicate with each other, communicate with their young, their mates, as well as claim territory in the area. Now let's go talk about great horned owls. Great horned owls are almost the complete opposite as barred owls. They're actually more aggressive because they are very protective of their territory, their young, and their mates. They also are not very picky when it comes to eating food. They eat up to 250 kinds of prey. They will go after snakes, they'll go after rabbits, they'll go after foxes, they'll even go after skunks. And sometimes they'll even go after small owls like the eastern screech owl. Now, great horned owls, they're the only ones that will really go after a skunk because they don't have the best smell, so they don't really smell or be deterred from the skunk. And they eat just about anything that they can carry. They're extremely fierce hunters, and they are strong. They're also a pretty large bird. Because of how well they hunt and how aggressive they can be, they are called the flying tigers of the air. Great horned owls are unique because they were found by the Virginia settlers that first came here, and they were first called the Virginia's owl and was later renamed to the great horned owl. Great because their size, as in they're about 2 feet tall, they can have a wingspan of about 5 feet long, and they can get up to 4 pounds. And then horned because they have 2-inch tall ear tufts on the top of their heads. Now, these aren't their actual ears. They have ears just like all other owls that are on the sides of their heads. These are just feathers that stick up. But again, they get the name great horned because they look like horns. Great horned owls usually mate for life, and they have between 2 to 4 eggs. They're also the only owl that has such an early mating and breeding season. They'll start mating between December to early January, and then they'll have their eggs by close to February. Great horned owls have a very unique hoot too. It's kind of almost haunting and scary for some people, but it's very cool. The great horned owls have a very loud, low, booming hoot that's about 3 to 8 hoots long that go from long to short. Now, great horned owls, they really like dense forests. Dense forests provide those decayed trees for them and also decayed logs. If they can't find a tree that's been decayed out, or if they can't find an abandoned hawk's nest, heron's nest, or crow's nest, great horned owls will actually go for logs that have been decayed out that are laying on the ground with a big enough hole that they can actually put their nest in. Just like this one here. Now let's go learn a little bit about the eastern screech owl. Eastern screech owls are aggressive just like great horned owls, but they need to be aggressive because of how small they are. Eastern screech owls only get up to about 9.5 inches tall, with a wingspan of 24 inches long and usually only weigh about 8 ounces. Eastern screech owls have a lot that they need to protect themselves from. For one, they are considered to be prey to hawks and great horned owls, and they prefer much denser forests because it's harder for the bigger owls to get through when they are hunting. Eastern screech owls don't really mind urban areas. They actually kind of like living in them because it's closer to humans, and great horned owls are not very fond of humans like eastern screech owls are. They're still aggressive and they don't like when humans get close to their nest, but they will take a bird's house if they can fit inside it. They will also take small tree cavities as well as abandoned hawks and crow's nests. Eastern screech owls have a really cool hoot that kind of sounds like a whinnying horse. They also have a one-note trill hoot that they use both for communication with their young as well as their mates and to claim territory. Eastern screech owls may be small in size, but they are quite fierce hunters. They also eat a series of prey that are more smaller found here in the park, like the insects and the small rodents that we find in the meadow. Now, the really cool thing about eastern screech owls is that when they are hunting insects, they'll sit on a branch and wait for the insect to fly by, and then they'll jump up from the branch and capture it by its wings before the insect even knew it was coming. Now, eastern screech owls, they usually mate for life. However, a male can take 2 females at one time. They'll share the same nesting area and they'll have eggs with both females. Now, eastern screech owls can have between 3 to 8 eggs, and when a male does this, he has to go out and hunt for both females and bring food back for them. Now, this is more of a rare occurrence, but when it does happen, the males do get a chance with having a little break. Sometimes the female will let the male incubate the eggs for only a very short time so that she can go out and hunt. Now, let's go talk about some of the human impacts that affect our owls here in the park as well as outside of the park. Human impacts have been an influence inside the park and can be seen outside of the park as well. For instance, telephone lines that we have here in the park can be a nuisance for some owls, as well as barbed wire fences outside the park. When the owls are flying or just hunting for prey and they swoop down, they can get caught in the telephone lines, or they can get caught in the barbed wire fences. Just with those lines too, we also have Skyline Drive here, which is our main drive here in the park. Now, when the owls swoop down at night and going after prey in the road, or even just sit in the road to eat prey, they could get hit by an automobile. If we had a fire here in the park, it could deter the owls to have to move to a new area, which could already be overrun by another owl or not have a good food supply for them. Urbanization has been a huge thing as well, because it pushes the owls out of the area where they have to find a new home too. But here in Shenandoah National Park, we have more of a wild, natural area for them to be safe in, almost like a sanctuary. Owls have been known through history as either symbols or omens. They have been known to be wise, stealthy, ghost-like birds, and they are very prominent here in our ecosystem. Without the owls here in our ecosystem, our balances would be out of check, and we may have an overrun of insects and mice. So here in Shenandoah National Park, our ecosystem is very important to us, and the owls bring that beautiful natural resource to us and are very important for us to keep safe. I want to thank you for coming out and learning about the owls here in Shenandoah National Park with me. And if you would like more information about the animals that are here or about the park itself, please visit our app or even our website at www.nps.gov/shen. See you next time.